Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Clean Reads podcast. I'm your host, Izzy, and today I'm going to be reviewing the first two books in the Natural series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Now, the reason why I picked this series to review and read was one, I wanted to pick a book that is very popular and a well-known YA thriller. And also something to spice up the channel because I usually review fantasy books and probably more, even romance I review more than thrillers and mysteries. But I picked this book up as well because I was just personally very interested in the plot. In this book, the first book I will be reviewing first, and then we will go on to the second book, Killer Instinct. Now, in the very first book, The Naturals, which is what the series is named after, you follow this 17-year-old girl named Cassie, and she can read people really easily. Like, she can profile them based on how they are dressed, based on little movements that they make, and just different things like that. Like, even how they react to things, she can tell you exactly who they are from, but just knows kind of the overall history of that person, character, and she has very special skills in that sort. One day, the FBI comes knocking at her door, saying that they want to recruit her along with a few other, I think the total of 5 special skilled teens like herself. There's about 5 total, I believe, and they all have their very unique abilities. Some are really strong and also a profiler like herself. Another can read emotions. One girl is a notorious liar and can also detect lies, which is kind of cool. And my favorite character, whom I ironically forgot the name of, she can soak up all this information and remember it. And they have all these, like, not superhero abilities, but they're very different from any normal person would have. And they've been basically training their entire life for this. But in this story, there has been a lot of deaths, and there's this mysterious serial killer involved. Now, this series, huge trigger warning to be said about this series is that in every single book you follow a serial killer. And if that wasn't enough, Jennifer Lynn Barnes wanted to scare you a little bit more and decided that you can read their thoughts, read their thought process. Maybe while they're killing, or their thoughts on the killing. When they kill a guy, girl, anything. I read that for the first half of the book, and I could not handle it. It was way too scary. If you're an easily scared person, don't read that part. Or maybe just not pick up this book in general, because it is pretty gory. I wouldn't say there is too much as far as, like, the romance. The romance, like, consists of innuendos between the parents and maybe even with the other teenagers within the same building that they are all kept in, like a normal house pretty much. And they also, I should probably add this, they are also all trying to solve this, who is the serial killer and who is making all the killings. And of course, that brings forced proximity, and there is definitely a physical attraction to Cassie with 2 guys. It's a love triangle. But of course, there is kissing, and remember the person who I told you about? One of the girls in there, like, in that group, like, is a notorious liar. Well, she dresses scantily to try to show off herself, and I will say it was a little bit jarring to read that. I didn't really like it. They didn't go into detail other than, like, her figure. I don't know. I haven't read this book in, like, over a month, so basically, as far as that goes, There's not too much romance other than also crushes as well. And the light feeling of their hands touching together and things like that are just goofy. There's not too much language either, which I'm very pleased about, because sometimes when you're reading and they have like a bunch or even a few cuss words, it just kind of takes you out of the book, at least with me. But there's no like cussing at all, at least from what I remember. And the only thing that they do is alluding to a cuss word as well, which is not that much. As I've said, there's not really that much cussing in here. Definitely. Some of the trigger warnings I would say within this first book is that the mother of Cassie is believed to be murdered, and you kind of see Cassie relive that. I think within the first few chapters of you getting to know her, and she not witnessed it, but she left the room, and when she came back in her room where her mom was at, she was nowhere to be found. There's blood everywhere, and just a really traumatizing experience for her. Most of the parents, and I feel like this is a very big trigger warning for parents, is that they practically abandon their teens to the FBI or on the streets. Yeah, that part is very sad. So as far as like the first book in the Naturals goes, it's pretty good as far as like romance content and everything. Now, Killer Instinct. Okay. Now, I have a little story to tell you about Killer Instinct. I read this book in 2 days, which never happens to me. The fastest I really read a book is probably 3 days if I have like a normal day. But I went on a road trip with my parents to Sequoia. And while we went up there and unpacked everything, it was like 5 hours of driving, read half of the book, read a little bit while we were in the campground. Then it started raining on our campsite, and we were going to stay there like for 3 days. And then the following day, it was smoky outside. And then we looked up on a news or smoke alert app, and apparently there was a fire behind. I don't know if any of you know where you are in Sequoia, but we were in the Sequoia campgrounds, and about 50 miles away, I would say, or maybe a little bit less. I don't know. I'm really not good at distances. But behind that lake, it was too far away from us, was a giant uncontained fire, and the smoke was coming from that fire all the way down to the campgrounds, and they weren't even evacuating Hume Lake, which we were going to go that day, but that didn't end up happening, and we decided for our own safety that we would leave, and it didn't even get contained until like maybe 3 days later after we left. So another 5-hour car drive, and many hours later, I finished Killer Instinct in the car. So I have more of a fresher memory for this book. Thought that'd be a funny story to tell you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. So in Killer Instinct, you go back. Well, you're also in Cassie's POV, which you are in the first one as well. Well, there is a brand new serial killer, and it takes place at a college campus. I remember, honestly, The Naturals better than Killer Instinct, and I actually liked the first book better than the second book, for reasons I will tell you in just a second. But Dean, there's one of the guys in the love triangle with Cassie who likes her, but his father, and this might be a spoiler alert for if you haven't read the first one, so if you want to skip this, just double tap twice. His father is a serial killer, and he is in jail, and they believe his father, to be like incorporating all these killings because that's the same kind of thing that his father would do. They're trying to find out who this murderer is. There's new evidence being brought out, and there might be some evidence of Cassie's mom as well, as did the first book. I will say I didn't like it as much, but it did make me want to hop into the third book in the series, All In. I haven't done it yet just because these two books, they're dark themes, obviously, because you're getting into the head of serial killers, and that's what you do also in this book as well. I would just skip those personally because I don't enjoy a lot of violence, but you know, I picked a thriller serial killer book. It's what you expect. Anyway, so like the violence in here is, I feel like it was more in here, and I felt like, or maybe a little bit less graphic in here, but there's just a lot more killings. The romance felt less, although one trigger warning I would say, I think her name is Leah, the person who's like the girl I told you about that was a serial liar, told Cassie that she slept in one of the other boys that she likes' bed. And obviously Cassie doesn't like that, but she doesn't know if that's true or not. If you guys know if that is true, that is in the book, please tell me. But it did allude to it in that sense, like, oh, she spent the night with the other guy. Who knows? Could not be. Even though he does like Cassie as well, I don't know. The love triangle in here is very interesting. But, yeah, the same as before, but, the trigger warning. Okay, here's another trigger warning. So they are playing poker in the house at night, and they're just alone together, and Cassie doesn't have any Oreo chips. They're like poker chips, but they're playing with Oreos. Anyway, she doesn't have any left. So Leah, she is the one I don't like because she's very on edge, and she likes pushing the boundaries and being inappropriate. Says that they should play strip poker. And that means Leah took off her top. Thankfully, she had a bathing suit bra on. Oh my goodness, if that was it, I would have just DNF'd the book. But that did not happen, thank the Lord. Cassie didn't know what to do, took off her belt, and I think the smart girl, the one who carries all the information, the one I like, did the smart decision and went into the kitchen to get cereal. I would be the same way. Just get me out of this situation. And then the guys took off their shirts, obviously, revealing a six-pack that Cassie thought of for a few minutes. And anyway, the language also in here was a little bit more crass. Honestly, this was like an iffy book that it's hard to place in like how much romance it was, how much language and violence and trigger warnings were more or less than the first book. I feel like there's a lot more trigger warnings in this one because later in the book you find out, or towards the middle I would say, you find out that one of the students, okay, might want to skip this part if this is considered a spoiler, but it does talk about one of the people, like the kind of like the backstory-ish of the person that got murdered. She was very intimate with her teacher. And it's just like a student-teacher relationship. That's just like gross. Dude, you should be going to jail. That is so not right. And this was not my favorite one. As you can probably tell by the way I'm just like ranting on how I don't like it. But overall, so far the series is really good. I would give it so far maybe 3-star series. The reason why I give it 3-star is because of the content. I stars down and I DNF books because of their content, and I refuse to read books because I want to stay true to what the Lord wants me to read. And what he says one thing is right and the world says the other thing, and I want to choose his way. And so if, let's just say, All In, the next book in the series, does confirm it, or if it has another thing with Leah, the liar girl, who like is basically like that was true, or if she does another thing, or Cassie makes a stupid decision that involves one of the guys, I'm probably not going to read the book because that's just not a smart decision. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope this helped you decide if you should read or shouldn't read the Natural series. I hope you have a great rest of the fall of October. I hope you have a great Harvest Festival or Halloween, whichever one you do. Let me know what you guys are dressing up for Halloween. I personally want to dress up as Cookie Monster. I hope you guys have a great rest of the month and year, and I'll see you next time. Bye!